Manute Bol is one of the most unique and inspiring figures in basketball history, a man whose story stretches far beyond the hardwood and into the heart of humanity itself. Born in a remote village in what is now South Sudan, Bol grew up in a world far removed from the bright lights of professional sports. His childhood was shaped by simple village life, open land, and the traditions of his community. Even at a young age, people noticed something extraordinary about him: his height. As he grew older, his body continued to stretch upward until he eventually reached a staggering 7 feet 7 inches, making him one of the tallest players ever to step onto an NBA court. But height alone does not create a legend. Manute Bol's journey from a small African village to the global stage of the NBA is a story of courage, adaptation, and relentless perseverance. In the early days, basketball was not even a clear path for him. Sudan had little connection to the global basketball pipeline, and opportunities were scarce. Yet fate had different plans. Scouts and mentors recognized that his towering frame, combined with his incredible wingspan and natural defensive instincts, could transform him into a once-in-a-generation rim protector. Eventually, Bol made the life-changing decision to travel to the United States, a move that meant leaving behind everything familiar: his language, culture, family, and homeland, in pursuit of a dream he was still learning to understand. The transition was not easy. America presented a completely new environment, from the fast pace of life to the intense structure of competitive basketball. But Bol approached every challenge with humility and determination. When he finally reached the NBA, he quickly became one of the most recognizable players in the league. Fans were immediately captivated by his towering presence on the court. Standing under the rim with arms that seemed to stretch endlessly toward the rafters, Bol turned the paint into a no-fly zone. Opposing players who dared to attack the basket often found their shots swatted away before they had even reached their peak. His shot-blocking ability became legendary. In fact, during parts of his career, Bol averaged more blocked shots than points scored, an incredibly rare achievement that highlighted just how dominant he was defensively. He was not just blocking shots, he was altering the psychology of the game. Players hesitated when driving to the basket, aware that somewhere near the rim stood a towering defender ready to erase their effort in an instant. Despite his intimidating defensive presence, Bol carried himself with a gentle and humble personality. Teammates often described him as quiet, kind, and thoughtful. His long stride and calm demeanor made him stand out not only as a player but also as a person. Fans loved him because he brought something completely different to the game. Occasionally, he would surprise everyone by stepping outside the three-point line and launching long-range shots, something almost unheard of for a player of his size during that era. When those shots went in, arenas erupted with excitement, because moments like that captured the pure joy and unpredictability of basketball. Throughout his NBA career, Bol played for several teams and built a reputation as one of the league's most fascinating personalities. But perhaps the most remarkable part of his story happened away from the court. While many professional athletes focus solely on fame and wealth, Manute Bol never forgot where he came from. His homeland of Sudan was struggling through conflict, poverty, and humanitarian crises, and Bol felt a deep responsibility to help his people. He used his platform and his earnings to raise awareness and provide aid to those suffering back home. Reports often noted that he donated a large portion of his income to charitable causes, funding schools, supporting refugees, and advocating for peace in his country. In many ways, the towering figure who blocked shots in the NBA became an even larger figure in the world of humanitarian work. His generosity and compassion earned him respect far beyond the basketball community. People admired not just the athlete, but the human being who chose to give back when he could have lived comfortably in silence. Manute Bol's life represents the powerful intersection of sport and humanity. On the court, he was a defensive giant whose shot-blocking records and unforgettable presence made him a legend. Off the court, he was a symbol of empathy and responsibility, a man who believed that success meant lifting others along the way. His journey from a remote village in Africa to the global stage of the NBA stands as one of the most remarkable stories in sports history. It reminds us that greatness is not measured only in points, rebounds, or trophies, but also in the impact a person leaves on the world. Today, whenever basketball fans discuss the tallest players to ever play the game, Manute Bol's name is spoken with awe and respect. Yet his legacy is far greater than a number on a height chart. He represents resilience, humility, and the idea that even in a league filled with giants, the true measure of a man is the size of his heart. As Manute Bol continued his journey through professional basketball, his legend only grew stronger. While many players are remembered for scoring titles or championship rings, Bol built his reputation through something far rarer: defensive dominance that could completely change the rhythm of a game. During his early NBA seasons with the Washington Bullets, fans quickly realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. Bol wasn't just tall, he understood how to use every inch of his incredible reach. Guards and forwards would drive confidently toward the basket, only to see the ball suddenly vanish into Bol's massive hands. Sometimes he didn't even need to jump. Simply raising his arms created an impossible barrier between the offensive player and the rim. In an era when interior scoring was a key part of the game, Bol became one of the most intimidating rim protectors the league had ever seen. His rookie season immediately placed him among the league leaders in blocked shots, and before long he became famous for recording games with astonishing block totals. There were nights when it seemed like every shot near the basket had to pass through him first, and more often than not, those shots were sent flying back toward midcourt. Analysts often pointed out that Bol's wingspan made him uniquely suited for defense. His arms stretched so wide that he could cover angles most defenders couldn't even reach, forcing opponents to rethink their entire offensive approach whenever he was on the floor. But what made Bol truly special was that he played the game with a sense of joy and curiosity. Basketball, for him, was still a relatively new experience compared to players who had grown up with the sport their entire lives. That freshness showed in the way he approached the game. There were moments when he surprised teammates and fans alike by stepping far away from the basket and attempting long-range shots. In one famous stretch of games, Bol suddenly began launching three-pointers, and incredibly, several of them went in. At the time, seeing a 7'7" center shooting from beyond the arc was almost unbelievable. It became one of those unforgettable basketball moments that fans would talk about for years. His willingness to experiment showed that Bol wasn't limited by the traditional expectations of his position. Even though his primary role was defense, he enjoyed exploring every part of the game. Throughout his career, Bol also spent time with teams like the Golden State Warriors and the Philadelphia 76ers, where his unique personality continued to win over teammates and fans. Coaches valued him not only for his defensive skills but also for the energy he brought to the locker room. Despite his towering height and unusual background, Bol remained humble and approachable. Teammates often recalled how softly he spoke and how generous he was with his time. In a league filled with intense competition and strong personalities, Bol stood out as someone who treated everyone with kindness. His gentle nature made him beloved by many who met him. Yet the deeper story of Manute Bol always returned to his connection with his homeland. Even as he built a career in the NBA, he never stopped thinking about Sudan and the people who were struggling there. Civil war and humanitarian crises had devastated many communities, and Bol felt a profound responsibility to help. Instead of focusing solely on his own comfort, he dedicated enormous effort and resources to supporting charitable causes. In the end, Manute Bol was not just a 7'7" basketball player, he was a towering story of hope, perseverance, and humanity that continues to inspire generations of fans around the world.